As of recording, I believe the Mavs are 6-2, and it's in large part because of Luka and their offense, which has been towards the top of the league basically since Luka has entered the NBA. This is nothing new. But Luka is playing like the best version of himself this year. And of course, there are all manner of just like absurd shots that nobody should be taking, let alone hitting at the rate that Luka does. He does insanely dumb shit every single night. He is shooting, I believe, like the best he's ever shot from three, which is insanely scary given the type of shots he's taking and making on any given night from beyond the arc. It's ridiculous stuff. Of course, there's always the mid-range floater game, regardless of who you put on him, whether you trap or you hedge or you switch. He's just going to get to his spot in that mid-floater game, decelerate, and knock it in. And it looks like Luka is in pretty good shape, as he kind of always does at this start of the season from like summer conditioning and such. Let's see. We'll obviously see how much he can hold it up throughout the year, but he's looking quick, looking spry, using his burst to get downhill, and then the strength to finish this off, just throwing Jeremy Sohan away. But I want to talk more about how Dallas's offense is structured this year to get the most out of Luka, to get the most easy buckets possible, and basically to make this probably the best version of the Luka Mavs offense that we've seen, aside from maybe that 1 year, a couple years ago, where they had like the best relative offensive rating ever. But this year, I think at the time of recording, they're third in offensive rating, and they've played a pretty difficult slate of defenses and teams overall. And the way that they operate, I mean, this double drag is a staple of the Luka Mavs offense, and the way it works generates so many easy buckets for Luka and the rest of the team. And I think their personnel suits this really well. Grant Williams and Derek Lively specifically, who we'll talk about this year. Lively, their first-round lottery pick, has been awesome to start the year. He's a really great screener, not afraid to set hard physical screens, and because he is a threat to catch the ball above the rim and finish, it leaves too many wide-open shots for Luka on the roll. He's so deadly working in this double drag situation. I mean, the nutmeg there is just the cherry on top here. But he's so good working with free space, where Franz wants to stay attached here, but Green sets a hard screen, and then Grant doesn't even need to set a screen here because Luka's already free, so he can slip right to the rim, get behind the defense, and trust his guy to find him for a wide-open layup. And it was all because of that hard screen from Josh Green and Grant recognizing that he can slip. Grant Williams is such a smart player, and Dallas is such a great offensive context for his skills in a way that Boston wasn't. And I think we've seen that a lot already, where Lively, again, we're going to see his like roll gravity a lot in this video, and teams are not willing to leave him open. The Mavs love to use like a legit shooter as their first screener to have as like a pop man, and also just to take a help defender away. And then this is just bad defense as well, but we can see how that double drag opens up so many wide open shots for everyone involved. And of course, having Williams, who's been a pretty good shooter throughout his career as a pop man, is really great too, as they haven't really had like a legit pick and pop threat aside from Maxi Kleber, who has definitely declined over the last couple years, where again, they want to fight over, they don't want to switch here, but Jokic is going to need help here because of how high he's showing at the level. This means KCP has to help down right here, giving Grant a wide open three. It's simple stuff, but having Luka is all you need to draw defenses. Luka plus smart screeners, smart offensive players has been an awesome thing to see. They love this like simple Chicago to get Grant Williams open threes here. Just this simple pin down into dribble handoff here. Get Pat Will off of Luka, Vooch shows, Lively dives hard to the rim, leaving Grant wide open. It's a simple formula, but having players that defenses won't and can't leave open is key. And Luka's ability to make the most ridiculous no-look jump passes, obviously enhances this stuff as well. Another pin DHO here where Luka gets free from Franz, and a lot of teams will like trap show at the level against Luka, which really isn't that great of an idea. It just doesn't work very often. Look at him look off this tag defender. Luka is staring at Josh Green. The pass is going to Josh Green. His body is angling that way, and Caleb Houston thinks that, dives out, and he just slips it into Dwight Powell, who ends up gathering for an open layup and one. And this like very same like DHO Chicago, a different little variation here where Grant, it looks like they're going to kind of flow into double drag with Luka bringing the ball up, but Grant screens off Patrick Williams to get Luka going free, which means Vucevic has to step up, which means DeRozan has to cover, and again, we see the jump pass, the no-look, some terrible help defense as well. But the easy variations in screening are very helpful. And of course, Luka being a god-tier passer, as we're just going to continue to see in conjunction with Lively on the roll and Grant as a spacer here. Once again, we see a team trying and failing to trap Luka, where, especially with an inexperienced off-ball defender not playing nearly deep enough here, Luka pumps, PJ Washington sinks down, kicks it to the corner, Grant Williams, and one triple. He's a shooter you have to respect at this point in his career, and that is huge given his screening, his rolling, his passing ability, all of that good stuff that has allowed them to thrive. We actually already saw this play. I must have included it twice by mistake. And I think it's, like, it shouldn't be understated how good Lively has been for them as just like a roller screener. And this is what he did in college. He has improved so much from being honestly not that great, in my opinion, as a high school senior, despite his high ranking, struggled and was out of the rotation early in his Duke career, but really picked it up towards the end of his season and was one of the best defenders in the country by year's end. We see a really smart flip screen here. Keldon gets over the initial screen, so he flips it, hits a hard screen. That's all the space Luka needs to get downhill and score and draw the end one. And that release valve has been a really nice thing overall for the Mavericks to have here. And I think that these clips are a little out of order, but just another example of this pin into dribble handoff, getting Luka free downhill. Paolo digs, no look to the corner. It's all Luka, really. All of this window dressing and motion and stuff is really nice, but it is really all Luka making this stuff happen. But it's nice to have this manufacturing open shots. Derek Jones has played awesome this year on defense especially, but we see Powell set this first screen into the double drag. Just more screening, more confusion. They're showing at the level, and because of Grant filling to the opposite side, Gordon can't commit all the way, and that is just a wide open three, and Derek Jones isn't the best shooter in the world, but it's not something you're super happy giving up all the time regardless. And Lively's comfortability as like a DHO roller and as someone who can kind of initiate these actions, he can like dribble the ball a little bit without totally collapsing, which is a lot for some rookie centers. Great screen by, or not even that great of a screen by Hardaway, but it's all Luka needs to get downhill. Lively and awesome above the rim threat. Teams will need a very good leaping big to deal with Lively, and of course Luka's ability to hold the ball to the last second, to have such a late trigger on these shots. We again see the double drag with Hardaway as the first screener, which they love to do. All he needs is that little brush, which again means there is help scrambling. Jaren has to step, and there just isn't enough weak side here to challenge that Luka lob to Lively, and we see Bane and Jaren yelling at each other because that is what Luka makes teams do to each other. I think one more area that I want to talk about before we end this is exploring the actions they can do with Luka and Kyrie, which again, it's less than a year into them, a full season into them playing together, and they don't run a ton of actions where they involve both, but even in the ones they do, we can see how much mileage they get out of simple screening and motion with their two best players, where just dribbling the ball up, Kyrie can probably beat Brandon Miller one-on-one, but it's a little bit more difficult. He's square to the basket. It's just a straight isolation. But here we see Luka fake a dribble handoff into a ball screen, which forces Miller to slide to the nail and help, makes him close out, and that's all the room Kyrie needs to get a wide open layup. And the only real chance that teams have against Luka is kind of just like to smother him at the rim and hope he gets stuck and makes bad decisions, which of course is not going to happen more than it is. But the Mavs having Kyrie, obviously, and their playbook being more creative in this year's than, at least to me, it has in the past years from my watching. This is like a staple play they love to run. I don't know exactly what you'd call it, but another variation out of their double drag series where they have a back screen for Green to go get a lob with a little pinned veer to get Hardaway a wide open three as a secondary action there, and he doesn't make it, obviously. And then this play I absolutely loved, a really interesting variation of this three-man screening action. I'm not really even sure what you want to call it. Tim Hardaway screening to get Kyrie downhill. I love these kind of two guard. This is kind of like a Warriors split almost, where the defense doesn't really know who's going to be coming to the ball, who's going to be peeling off, who's going to be cutting, and Hardaway breaks free, immediate to Kyrie at the elbow, and this kind of weird alignment fools Goga. He doesn't really know what's going on, and then Kyrie's able to drop it down to Lively for a wide open dunk. So this cool stuff basically only amplifies the greatness that are these two, and this is the closest thing you're gonna get to Luka as a off-screen kind of action, where it's not just straight. Obviously, Luka's more comfortable pumping and waiting, and he's always been more comfortable taking time as a shooter, but even something as simple as this to force a beneficial matchup to get Mikal off of Luka, to involve Kyrie and Luka in the same screening action, just to make Luka's life a little bit easier. And this is the stuff that matters as the season drags on and as these guys get fatigued, is how can we make the lives of our stars easier? Even like this, Alex Caruso is a tenacious defender who is hard to shake, so they run this little DHO elbow get almost kind of action to get Caruso off. Great screen by Lively, and that's all the room Luka needs to do his thing, draw the help, and kick to a wide open three. That's really all that needs to happen there. We don't need rocket science. And same with this. It's hard enough to guard Luka in isolation, but it is an even more impossible ask when first you have to chase Luka around a good screen. You're already behind and out of position, and then Luka can just set up into a step back three, and you're really not stopping that on any of Luka's good day. And as a conclusion, the Mavs offense they're moving freely, they're spacing well. It seems to be more freelance, good movement stuff. And again, I think we see Josh Green's a smart cutter. We talked about Grant's IQ a lot. Setting kind of an impromptu back screen here. Luka notices it, frees up Green for a wide open drive to the rim. So the Mavs offense is ridiculous. And I was pretty down on the Mavs. I think a lot of people were down on the Mavs, worrying about the defense and their depth as well. But Luka is playing the best basketball of his career, and as long as he's playing an MVP frontrunner type, the Mavs are always going to be in the playoff race. And more than that, they're just a team that nobody is ever going to want to play in the playoffs as long as Luka's around. They're going to have their first shot, hopefully, at the postseason with Kyrie and a really solid group of role players. And this kind of offensive manufacturing they do with double drags and pin downs and Lively rolling and Grant screening that we talked about today is good stuff to keep Luka's longevity up. Of course, you can slot Kyrie into the Luka slot for a lot of these plays, and they're going to look different because they have different skill sets, but the Mavs are doing really good stuff, and they have been so much fun to watch on offense this year, as they always really are.